doing today? Okay, so we've got a bit of a different one here for you. It's gonna be me and the homie Grant. We're gonna be doing the review series of Picard today. First episode. I've got him on standby. That's why in the top right corner it's black there. He's actually on my other screen muted and just kind of hanging out right now, giving me funny ass faces. Anyway, let me get to these notifications really quick. JD, thank you for the like. Calvin with the like and the massive ass share bomb. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 shares. Lady Panda with the like. Netzel fan with the 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 shares and a like. Appreciate that very, very much. I hope we are all doing really well this evening. I'm gonna go ahead and bring him in. It looks like he may have actually frozen on my end over there, so just bear with me here, pandas. Hey, can you hear me, buddy? Can you hear me? I'm gonna turn down my music too. Sorry about that, guys. I know the music's a little bit loud there for a second. Okay, I can see you and I can hear you. All right, so I hope you guys can hear him. The connection may be a little bad. Just so you guys know, we're gonna be doing this every Thursday. I think we're gonna stick with the live podcast format. It seems to be a little bit more okay. Oh my gosh. Hey, what's up, Volpixia? Very good to see you. Thank you for the like on the stream. Been a while since I've been here. Welcome, welcome. Well, you're joining in on my my review series of Picard with my best friend and homie Grant. He is currently in Portland, so he's West Coast. That's why we're coming to you as late as we are tonight, Panda Fam. I do apologize about that. We're going to be doing these every Thursday. Depending on the time, we'll do these instead of the evening stream. And let me actually bring him on in here, Panda Fam. So just bear with me one more second. I'm a little noobish when it comes to this whole like bringing two people into a stream dilly-dally, but I'll get it figured out here for you. 1 second, pandas. Boom skis. And there he is. And you should be able to say shit too, my friend. Absolutely. So everybody, this is my best friend and brother, basically, from another mother. I can't hear my fiance. That's because I had his ass muted for a second. Hey Daniela, how's it going? Dennis with the 50 star bomb. Volpixia with the like, Anna with the like. Thank you for the like on the page and the personal there, Anna. I appreciate it. And the massive share bomb. Holy Jesus. Daryl with the like and the shares, the triple shares. Dennis again with the 50 star bomb. Thank you very much for that. Anna, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 shares that I can see so far. Appreciate that very much. Now I apologize again. His setup is he's on a hotel internet right now, so he might be a little bit choppy. I hope you guys can hear him. I do apologize if the audio and his lips moving doesn't quite sync up. So you all know, we're going to be doing this from pretty much this location moving forward. As you can see, he'll be just basically sitting on my left. I'll zoom out the old bad boy camera here, and we'll do this as a one camera setup. That's right. That's my left-hand man right there. So anyway, we're here tonight to discuss, we're going to be doing this review series. Now, the first one that I wanted to do with him was the Star Trek Picard review series, where we talk about the first episode. Also, let me know if the music in the background is overwhelming. I do like having the background music there, just kind of as a vibe to kind of keep things flowing and everything. But anyway, we're gonna, you guys all know who I am. You know me as Tambourine Panda. My real name is John. This is my best friend Grant. Like I said, he's been my best friend since, God, what was I, 10 years old, man, when I first met you? Nine, you were 10. I'm 34 and he's 36 now, so I'm about to be oh shit, that's right, it's not March yet. That's right, I'm sorry. Jesus Christ, where's the time going? He's 36. Yeah, so anyway, or he'll be 36 in about a month and a half. So anyway, I'm sorry guys. Mistakes abound. Anyway, I'll let him kind of introduce himself and give you a little bit of his Star Trek background. I asked him specifically to join me on this review series because of his knowledge. He's the one who actually got me into Star Trek back in the day, vis-a-vis the All Good Things episode, which was, of course, the last episode in the Next Generation series, which is funny that I started from the end and then worked my way through it. But anyway, I talk too much. I'll let you, introduce yourself for a couple minutes here, champion. I'm going to call him that a lot too, by the way. It's an inside thing for the two of us. So if I refer to him as champish or champion, there's a reason why. So anyway, Anna, Jesus Christ, thank you for the shares. Go ahead, buddy. Sorry. Oh shit, you are chopping up real bad, buddy. Oh no. Hey, champion, they can't hear you at all, so bear with me just a second. Yeah, no, I can hear you. I can hear you just fine, but just bear with me. Okay. All right. Try saying something now. See if it comes through. No, it's not picking you up here. All right, hold on a second here, Panda Fam. No, it's not. Uh-oh. Audio issues. All right, let me, yeah, all right, hold on one second, man. So I have you on Discord, so it should be piping through Discord. The alerts are coming through just fine. That's really weird. Hold on one second, let me... No. Alright, hold on a second, guys. Alright, go ahead and say something, dude. Huh. I don't think they can hear you, man. I keep adding my headset as a source here. Hold on one second. Hold on, pandas. We'll get this figured out. But anyway, while I'm trying... Yeah, we did. We sure did. Huh. Yeah, we sure did. Alright, so... Bear with me here, guys. I'm gonna see if I can troubleshoot this shit on the fly. I mean... Anyway, when we do get this figured out, we're going to be talking about the first episode of Picard, if I can get this figured out. Let's see. Try saying something now, man. See if it comes in.
Pandas.
Holy shit. Okay, I think I gotcha.
We're in? We got it?
I think we got it, man.
So do I start the intro from June?
Brian says Control Alt Delete. You did. All right, guys. Tell me you guys can hear him, please. All right, so we got Chris with the like, Umair with the like, Travis with the like, Chris with the share, Scott with the like, Tamisha with the like and the share. Got him. I just had the wrong freaking input. I'm an idiot. Boomer. Oh my god.
So what I attempted to explain earlier was that Panda shared a picture the other day of him and his brother from the mid-90s when his brother was throwing up a fat dab before it was popular, and our young panda here was standing behind him with some round glasses and some hair parted down the middle. That was the panda that I first met.
Yeah,
so that's who we're working with here. We grew up together. We got more experiences than anybody else I have, just like John said, my brother. So it's goes back a long time. Star Trek loves go back even before that, when I was even younger in my old house before I moved 2 doors down from John. I found it Next Generation, just scrolling through when it was still on the air. My next door neighbor was older than me considerably. He was an adult with a job and everything, but was a huge Trekkie. So when my parents saw me watching it, they told him, and he started taking me along to conventions and things like that. I was Data for Halloween in 3rd grade. All kinds of good stuff like that. So Star Trek love is very deep and dear to my heart. I watched Voyager as it aired, Deep Space Nine. I watched after it finished. Original series I've gone and skipped through. Discovery I haven't had a chance to get to yet, but will. Excited for that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the show of the moment is Star Trek Picard, and I am beyond amped to be reviewing this.
Yeah, very excited, and yeah, man. I mean, he is Star Trek to the nth degree. That's about as hardcore as I've ever met, as far as a Star Trek fan is concerned. So anyway,
as a disclaimer, there are many more hardcore fans than me out there, but
he's the most hardcore one that I've met anyway. Scott, thank you for the 50 stars. Appreciate it, and thank you for the share on the stream. John, can you introduce me to your co-host? This sexy bearded beast over here, the champish one that I like to say, is gonna be helping me review this series, Star Trek Picard. Again, because of his extensive Star Trek knowledge. I consider myself more of a casual fan, with leanings towards more like hardcore, I guess. But
you're getting there.
Where's that game footage, says Jason? No games tonight, man. No games tonight. I had to label it as something. I don't know how to properly tag it as not a game, so,
Is that Vern Troyer's brother?
Jason Troyer? I don't know. Maybe it is. Jason, are you Vern's brother, bro? Are you Vern's bigger brother? In multiple ways. Anyway, before we get too far off a tangent, let's dive into the episode, man, because we had, well, as Star Trek fans may know, we had a couple of comics that were released before the actual first episode that detailed everything that happened, or some major events that happened before the first episode and after Nemesis. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar,
let's set the stage here.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Star Trek universe, right? We had the original series, then we had Next Generation. Those are the only two things that happened. Then they added in Deep Space Nine and Voyager, which ran past the end of Next Generation as a series. However, there were movies that happened, Star Trek Next Generation movies. There was Generations, there was First Contact, there was Insurrection, and there was Nemesis. Nemesis was the last look that we had at things that were going on in the prime Star Trek universe until now, because they've had other series, but it's all stuff that takes place either in the Kelvin timeline with the Chris Pine movies, J.J. Abrams, and then there's also things that even predate the original series, such as Star Trek Discovery, where it's pre Kirk being in command of the Enterprise, and it's under the command of Captain Pike. So this is the first look that we've had in nearly 20 years at what's happened in the Star Trek universe since Nemesis. So this is pretty neat.
Yeah, for sure. And like he said, I mean, there's you've got the Kelvin timeline, like Grant mentioned, and you've got what we know of as the Next Generation timeline and everything. And again, as we lead into, I guess, events more specifically going into this particular show, and he's absolutely correct. I mean, it's an exciting time to be a Star Trek fan for sure, especially with Sir Patrick reprising his role as Jean-Luc. I mean, the guy's a powerhouse. He could have carried that entire first episode himself, but
carried the entire first season of Next Generation himself.
Basically, yeah. He basically did. Jason, thank you for the like on the stream, by the way. Dennis says, my dad got me into Star Trek watching the original series. Favorite episode is Doomsday Machine. Jason says, this is not very Super Saiyan of you. I'll be playing Kakarot probably more tomorrow, man. So just
you should
in.
See him turn Super Saiyan in real life.
I don't know what he's talking about. This doesn't happen. Anyway, so back to the more specific events of the comics that they released, and then the short little 6-7 minute short clip or episode, Children of Mars, where they're talking about basically Picard is talking with LaForge, and they're trying to figure out a way. Basically what's happening is there's a supernova, to my understanding there's a supernova that's supposed to blow up, and all of these planets within the supernova are in massive danger. One of the planets housing one of the Federation's greatest enemies in the Romulans. And what they're tasked or what they're trying to do is they're trying to, I guess, evacuate this planet with like 900 million Romulans. So the comics are kind of a way of setting up that particular moment, because it's a major point in the first episode. One that they, Oh, gotcha. As far as the first episode, it's a major plot point that they talk on, as far as the interview scene, and it's a lot of exposition.
Before we get into that, let's talk about the comics and what happened in Children of Mars, because this is all super pertinent.
Go ahead. I'll turn it over to you as far as.
So.
You're chopping. You're chopping.
The captain. So I'm choppy. You're choppy. That's who's choppy.
All right, you should be good now. Remember, folks, he's on a hotel connection, so it might be a little bit.
Yeah, it's crappy hotel Wi-Fi, so I apologize. Picard was in command of the Enterprise E, and this impending Romulan supernova is going to happen. So the Romulans reach out for help. They asked for help, and the Federation, being who they are, agreed to help the Romulans. So Picard gives up command of the Enterprise D, gets this Dylan gets this new ship, which the name is escaping me right now, the Verity, and it's this big fancy ship, and he is tasked with the evacuation of all of these Romulan planets. So he goes there and is visiting this one planet where he finds that the Romulans have basically they were not native to that planet, and they enslaved the native inhabitants of this planet. Picard wants to evacuate everybody. The Romulans say, I don't think so. And when Picard has other designs, they basically take him captive. Right. They take his ship. There's a couple of people that are former Tal Shiar, which is like basically Romulan Black Ops, kind of Secret Service, kind of MI6 Romulans, and they bust him out and kind of Romulans. But where we leave off in the comics, so there's supposed to be 3 comics released before the premiere of Star Trek Picard. Only 2 of them ended up being released.
Right,
we're still waiting on the third one, which I think will be out on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, unless they pushed it back again. But I don't know. I don't know if they pushed it back because they didn't want spoilers, if they wanted some things to be revealed in the premiere of the show. I'm not sure what caused the pushback. They were kind of quiet about it, but that's kind of where we left off there. Now what we have is Children of Mars, which was, so CBS All Access puts out this thing called Short Trek. Some of them are cartoons, some of them are whatever. But this Children of Mars is a short that is directly tied into the events of Star Trek Picard and the events of the Romulans.
Right.
So what happens in Children of Mars is, it's a 6-minute short. There's 2 girls, they're kind of like bitter enemies or whatever, but both of their parents are stuck on Mars, where the Utopia Planitia shipyards are. They're building all of the Federation's ships there. So what happens is the ships that are being built for this Romulan evacuation are being built at Utopia Planitia. At some point, all you see in Children of Mars is Mars get attacked by some unknown entity, and absolutely destroyed. And the last thing you see is the two girls who had kind of been enemies and snarking at each other throughout the course of the 6-minute short are kind of like holding hands and crying because they realize that something terrible is happening. So that's all you get leading up to the show. The rest of the reveals happen in the show.
Right.
And so we can kind of take it from there.
Sure. Real quick, Travis says, I've never seen Star Trek, LOL. Hopefully we can give you a little bit of insight with this review series if you care to watch. Just be aware that we'll be doing this as a podcast format, and we'll be doing it for supporters only. Episodes 2 through 9, the premiere today and the finale when that hits, we're doing for everybody, again, as podcast format. So and also just be aware that my buddy won't be in Portland the next time we do this, so he'll be actually sitting here next to me, so the quality will be a little bit better. As far
I'll
as
be in Portland for episode 4.
Gotcha. Okay, so today and for episode 4. What's up, Brandon? Good to see you, man. Welcome into the Star Trek review series. This is the first in the review series that we're doing, starting with Star Trek Picard. There could be different shows, different things in the future. But anyway, as Grant was just saying, we were talking about the comics and the little short trek that kind of leads us, segues us into the show. And he and I were kind of talking off stream a little bit about this, and we didn't want to get too carried away. We wanted this to be more on the organic side as far as this podcast is concerned. But
there were a minimum of 7 times where we got too excited talking about it. We're like, stop, save it for the stream, save it. He stopped me, I stopped him.
Yeah. Anyway, so one of the cool things for me in the first scene, and what it is it's a nice dream sequence with Picard and Data, and they're playing, I don't know if it's 5-card stud or whatever they used to play in the old, I think, the Next Generation series. Anyway, the card game doesn't really make a difference. It's the scene between Data and Picard. It's a very solemn scene. I feel like it's very authentic scene because this is a guy who essentially sacrificed himself for Jean-Luc back in Nemesis to save his life. You can tell this is a burden that he carries with him 20 odd years into the future. And you can tell that the events that happen
real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So the first is of the front of the Enterprise D, which of course was destroyed in Star Trek Generations, I believe. So, but you zoom in. You're zooming in on the front of the ship, and you go right into 10 forward, which is the bar.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yeah, in the Enterprise D. So you go right into 10 forward, and that's where they're sitting playing this poker game. The bar's completely empty, apart from Picard, who is in plain clothes, and Data, who is wearing his uniform from Nemesis.
Right. And again,
the uniforms might be significant because they show up later on in different uniforms, and we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, they do. I wonder if it's just the dream sequence itself and him remembering different moments, or I don't know. But that's a good point that you bring up. They're more in the movie uniforms, like the Nemesis uniform. Data is anyway. In that first dream sequence, and then we'll talk about the one later, like Grant said. But anyway, Picard looks over and he sees Mars, and he says a very, very, I guess, meaningful statement before, he looks over to Mars, and Data asks him, he's like, it seems like you're stalling, and Picard, I don't want the game to end. I don't want this moment to end. So it really does a good job right off of the bat of establishing, just how important this guy Data was to Picard. He's not even a guy. He's a synth, as they call him in this series. He's an android. Sacrifice himself in Nemesis. It's a very beautiful scene. Bing Crosby is the entrance. Theme music. Just a Blue Skies by Bing Crosby. It's just a very beautiful, very well done scene between two heavyweights of the series.
There is something I want to point out too.
Sure.
Before they look out the window, Data puts them all in, and Picard calls.
True.
But you never see the cards flip.
you see Data's hand, but you don't see what Picard's hand is, which is a good point. I mean, there's a lot of very like out in the ether sort of things you can extrapolate from this one scene, which is why it's such a good opening scene for the series after 20 years, is bringing everything kind of back to these two guys, and then going from whoa, you just really went whoa, there we go. All right. Woo, you went a little crazy there. You were like, bah, 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 bah.
Into the Matrix.
You went into the like rave mode there for a second. Anyway.
Oh, I see it. It's happening on my phone right now.
You went into like rave mode for a second. But anyway, right after that moment. Well, and the other cool thing to note about that scene too is Picard calls him on his tel, which is that he doesn't have a tel, and then Data calls him anyway, and then Picard goes all in. So like it's just a really cool like these two like heavyweight minds of the next generation just going back and forth and whatnot, and then boom, this thing happens and he looks out and they see Mars and things aren't right, and then explosions, and then he wakes up at Chateau de Picard in France, and he's on his vineyard. And for me it was a lot of that all good things feel, especially, you know, the part of that episode when he went back to his old vineyard, minus the disease and all the crazy shit that was happening to him, like
Robotic syndrome in this, near as we can tell.
Right. And I'm glad that you remember that, because I couldn't remember what the name of the syndrome was that he was diagnosed with, or that he had early like signs of. I wonder if that's going to play any kind of part in this show. The other thing I
would bet not. I think that was just a Q manipulation from All Good Things.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I mean, fair enough. It's a good explanation for it. The other cool thing, you know, for me was what I personally would have liked to see them do a little bit more of, especially with his like dream sequences, is that whole like throw open the blinds to like affirm that he's actually like not dreaming anymore, which was cool. Like later on we'll talk about another scene that happens. I just wish they would have like touched on that a little bit more, to like he's grounding himself, like, you know, the thing from Inception or like whatever sort of thing. But anyway,
I mean, the fact that Data's there is pretty telling.
It's pretty telling about his state of mind. And anyway, the fact that he's, you know,
and actually, yeah, in the next scene when he wakes up, he says he likes the dreams.
Yeah, it's waking up that he's, you know, becoming not fond of, so, or he's regretting or whatever. So it's an interesting, you know, you get this feeling that you got this guy who's obviously he's disillusioned with the Federation for whatever reason, and he's in the, you know, I don't know what is it, waning or wax, he's in the waxing years of his life, and he's retired to where we all knew this guy was going to retire to, some vineyard in France, and he's living the life of a retired, you know, Starfleet admiral. Yeah. But something's nagging at him, and you can feel it, man. You can feel it.
Yeah, and this is hinted at. So shortly after The Best of Both Worlds, which is the episode where he gets assimilated into the Borg Collective, shortly after that, there's an episode where he actually returns to Chateau Picard. His brother, Rene, and his family are there. And, you know, you kind of see that it's tempting him to stay there.
Right.
You know, there's memories that he has. There's, you know, a bunch of good reasons for him to stay. They offer him a good job to stay.
Right.
And you know, after such a traumatic experience, it.
Uh-oh, you're chopping a bit, buddy.
Uh-oh. Let me know when I'm good.
You should be. Your video's frozen now, but I can hear your sound. Now I can't hear you.
Too. God bless it.
It's your, I guarantee you it's your hotel internet connection, man. It's fine. It's no big deal, buddy. Well, like I said, when we get together and do this,
it is.
It'll be good. Whoa, what are you whoa! I just saw myself there for a second. That was crazy. It's an awesome face you have there for the stream, buddy. It is chopping just all right. Maybe good. Oh, maybe not.
No?
All right, there we go. At least everybody's getting some good face action from you. But anyway, he was mentioning the episode where he goes back to Chateau and he's offered a job, and as soon as he gets good again, he'll talk about like what it was that he was talking about. All right, maybe it's good now.
So,
yeah, you're chopping real bad, buddy. Hold on a second. Let me see if it's my. He has good face action, says Danielle. There we are. I promise you guys, this will be a little bit better once we get. I'm like my Discord connection's good, so.
I don't know how to check it.
You're fine. I think you're fine now.
Okay.
Daniela says you have good face action, so that's good.
So offered this job back, so, and he stays out there for another probably 15 years. So you know that something significant.
I'm sorry. Every time I laugh, it's because you're roboting super hard. Oh man. So you're talking about how he was offered a job and something significant at Chateau de Picard, right?
Yeah,
it's like as soon as you start talking, it's like it chops super bad. Hold on.
Waiting. Copy. Chop.
Yeah, you're. Oh my goodness.
Top.
Yeah, you are.
Should I hang up and call back?
Yeah, you know what? Why don't you try doing that and see if it like helps your connection, buddy? And I'll just undisplay cap you real quick. All right, so he's gonna try calling back here real quick, folks. But he was talking about an episode in The Next Generation where Picard goes back, and Daniela says, "Stop moving." I think that might be what it is too. The webcam like processing him and everything. So we'll see. Anyway, so he was talking about when he goes back to Chateau de Picard and he's offered like a job and it's very tempting. And I think what he's trying to say is that it has a lure to Picard. It's a place we always kind of knew that he would settle down at. In the... Alright, video. Alright, let's see if that helps, buddy. Can you hear me?
Alright, are we there now?
I think so.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I hope so. You're still a little robot-y, but...
Yeah, well, at least you can hear noises.
Yeah, Daniela says to stop moving so much. It might be because your webcam's over-processing you right now. Maybe. I don't know, man. Hotel internet connection sucks, so...
I'm not dancing.
I know, yeah, I know you're not dancing. I'm just saying. Hotel internet connection sucks so bad, man. Like, unless you pay for the premium stuff, you're getting hosed, man.
That's what I might do next time.
Much better.
So,
okay.
Apologies to the Panda fam. So what I was saying was that after he was assimilated, he had a bunch of good reasons. He just had a traumatic experience. He was offered a good job. In spite of all that, he still elected to go back and have another probably 15 years in Starfleet after that. So the fact that he's at the Vineyard and that he's given up this life, something major had to happen in order to get him to do that.
Right.
That's all I was trying to say.
For sure. That's exactly what I was trying to convey that to everybody while we were getting that reset. So anyway,
appreciate that.
Yeah, no. So anyway, back to the first episode. So that was the first scene. And you're introduced to the significance of this scene too is you're introduced to the two Romulan caretakers, Laris and Shaban, which aren't they the two what's the name of the secret force?
Tel Shiar.
Thank you. Yes, and they essentially bargained for their for like passage off of the planet, if I'm not mistaken. Like he helped save their life.
Yeah, they helped bust him out when he was held captive by the Romulans after he was trying to evacuate everybody. And then we don't know how the hell they ended up back with him because we haven't read the third comic yet.
Right, it's not been released to my knowledge. Anyway, so you're introduced to the two of them, and they're basically telling him. It's almost a funny meta moment. I went back and watched the episode a couple more times where he goes like, I'm starting to regret being talked into doing this, almost like a meta nod to, you know, everybody who wanted to see him back as Picard for Star Trek again. So it was just kind of a funny moment. But he's talking about, there's this interview that he's getting ready for. These people are coming to Chateau de Picard to interview him about, you know, the Romulan, the supernova and the crisis or whatever that happened. So you know, we kind of shift a little bit to him in his nice attire, and he's getting ready. And you know, Laris pulls him aside and tells him, you know, be the captain that we remember you. You know, we remember who you are. You know, be that Jean-Luc again. And there's a moment in the upcoming scene where I feel like he gets to that like emotional state, but like it's also very, you know, firm-handed Jean-Luc Picard.
Powerful, yeah.
That powerful, like I may be an old codger, like he says to Shaban, but you know, he's still got it, man, and it was really cool to see. You know, I'm talking about the interview scene now, where he's sitting down in his you know, den or whatever in Chateau de Picard. Justin and Randy, thank you guys for the likes. Jason, thank you for the likes. Scott says much better. Dylan says chomp chomp champion. Anyway, so he's sitting in his den in Chateau de Picard, and he's got this interviewer talking to him and asking him about the events from 20 years ago and Starfleet's decision to help the Romulans, and you know, basically baiting him into an emotional response. He was also in the previous scene assured by Shaban that he went over the script with this reporter and that she wouldn't ask him about his departure from Starfleet like multiple times, which of course, you know, as a viewer, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, we kind of know what's going to happen here. We know that she's going to ask him these questions, and I at least wasn't disappointed by his response. It definitely evoked for me like old school Jean-Luc Picard. You know, when someone kind of pushes his buttons too much, he's always kind of the diplomat first and the ass kicker later, I feel like, when push comes to shove. And
he'll talk until he can't, and then he puts his foot down. Yep.
And this interviewer definitely pushed him into a corner, and he put his foot down and kind of bitch slapped her by referencing Dunkirk and then telling her that she had no idea what Dunkirk was, and then basically said Starfleet they slithered away. It was a really cool look at this guy. Like, it was a reaffirmation of this guy who is very disillusioned with Starfleet right now and the decision that they made or didn't make regarding the Romulans. Anyway, did you have anything you wanted to add to that particular scene, buddy?
I mean, no, you pretty much nailed it. There's not a whole heck of a lot to add there, and your synopsis is pretty spot on.
As far as that particular scene, too, I did feel like this was our big portion of exposition, trying to kind of catch the viewer up on everything, in case you didn't get the comics or the Children of Mars and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Is it now that you find out what actually happened to Mars, or is that later?
It's pretty much right now. Like, she tells him like 91,000 lives, and the atmosphere is constantly on fire. Like, it's still on fire to this day.
Yeah, we find out who attacked Mars because it's been a mystery to this point. Nobody knows. We find out that it's what they call synthetics, but what they really mean are androids. So you have this Romulan evacuation going. You've got the Utopia Planitia shipping yard, the shipyards on Mars, and then you find out that the attack was done by androids that were created at the Daystrom Institute in Okinawa, Japan. And this is basically scientists that are looking at positronic brains like Commander Data's and trying to replicate them. So somehow, for some reason, and we don't really know how or why, these synthetics, these androids become, I guess, for lack of a better term, they become self-aware like Skynet, and they go and they attack Mars specifically, which also makes me scratch my head. Why didn't they attack Earth? Why specifically Mars? But what it does is it derails the evacuation of Romulus, because the Federation does two things because of this. They abandon the plans to evacuate Romulus after promising their help. That is strike one for Picard.
Right.
Strike two comes when they then ban the creation of any androids. So any positronic research that's done at this point has to be completely hypothetical. Any androids that they had in their possession at that time that did not take part in the attack are completely dismantled.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct in that, and the two sticking points specifically for Picard too. I mean, he even says it in the interview. What Starfleet did was criminal. It was dishonorable, and it was downright criminal. And that's essentially he ended up resigning his position under protest because of it. And we come to find that out, in this episode, in this interview scene. So it's one of those things where you're like, damn, man, like for those of you who know the Next Generation and know, Jean-Luc, it would take something very serious for him to consider resigning his post. Furthermore, consider resigning his post under protest. So, I mean...
So one thing about Jean-Luc as a character from jump is that he is a man who, no matter what, stands by his principles. Those are the most important things to him. And when the organization that he works for starts violating his principles so egregiously, that forces him as a character to resign, and that's absolutely something that his character would do. I think that's a great character action that they wrote into this.
For sure. By the way, Kyle, thank you for the like. Simunition, thank you guys for the like. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit slow to the notifications today. We're trying to kind of keep the flow of the podcast and whatnot going. So if I'm going to take a second to get to you, it's not because I miss you. I see you. I'm trying to keep up with chats and typing and stuff too. So while my buddy talks about his breakdowns, because he is the Star Trek lore master when it comes to the Star Trek goodness. Anyway, so we move on from that interview, scene, and it kind of juxtaposes with this girl, who, by the way, we end up meeting. Her name is Daj, and she is, you come to find out that this particular girl is special in a particular sense. We'll get into it a little bit later in the podcast, but she's special, and that's pretty much what you need to know.
Expose it like they did in the episode, because I think it's cool that way.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a scene there where she's in her hotel or apartment or something. She's hanging out with her boyfriend, and they're in Boston, supposedly. I guess this is, Boston, future Boston. And she's in her apartment, you would assume, with her unnamed boyfriend for reasons that you'll, figure out here in a second. And they're talking about her acceptance into, I can't remember it off the top of my head. The
Daystrom Institute.
The Daystrom Institute, thank you very much. And they're all excited about it and celebrating, and he walks to her to get her something to drink, basically, and then all of a sudden, boom, man, these dudes zap in. They teleport in to the apartment room, zip the guy that's getting her a drink with a knife to the chest, and they slam her on the table, and they're like, "Where are the others? Who are you? What are you like?" And she's like, "I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
No, that's her they're looking for. So they identify that it's her, and then they put this weird thing on her face, and they say something like she hasn't activated yet. She hasn't activated yet.
She hasn't activated yet, and they do ask like where are the others, which is a weird question that would imply that there's more than just one, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I distinctly remember one of the guys asking like where are the others, and she's like, I don't know, I'm from Seattle. Like, where are you from? I'm from Seattle. Like, and you like you said, they put this thing over her eyes and then bag her, and one of the people is like, go knock her out, and person goes to knock her out, and she just blocks that shit and then proceeds to activate. She's activated now and proceeds to whoop some serious ass.
Yeah, she annihilates the shit out of all of those dudes.
Yeah, takes all three of them down.
It's at this point that Mikey and I notices the last one. Yeah, well, they messed up real bad. It's at this
point that they all realize they messed up real bad. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, buddy.
No, you're good. So the last guy that you see get taken out, you see him drop a Romulan disruptor. That's the last scene, and it's from underneath, and you see the disruptor fall right towards the camera. So that's your first clue, because they all have helmets on, so you don't really see their faces or their brows or their ears, any of the defining characteristics.
See, and that's not something even on rewatch that I would have caught, because for me, like, I'm not as eagle-eyed on that stuff as, like, say you are. So, but I figured there was a reason that they were focusing on the disruptor, or whatever the phaser that they were using, yeah, that's good information to know, because like you said, that's really your first indication in this episode that there's Romulans behind these attacks on this girl. So she beats the hell out of these three guys and proceeds to freak the hell out, heads out into like the rain and sees Picard in the middle of his interview talking about what happened, with Romulus or the Romulans and all this stuff. And she like gets like, I guess before she leaves her apartment, she gets like some vision of Picard in her head, and she like somehow she like boom, she like has to go find him. So she's like searching for him, heads out, sees him on the on the telly, she's having the interview or whatever. On the telly, she sees him. And again, she further reaffirmation that she like needs to go find this guy. So basically she like opens this communicator or whatever it is. I feel like I'm kind of jumping around a little bit in the episode, kind of after the apartment scene and the rain scene where she sees him with sees him on the telly with the interview. We go from that, and then I believe he goes to the academy, if I'm not mistaken, to find.
Not yet.
Oh no, she comes to see him in the farmhouse or at Chateau. Right, okay, sorry. I just had to get my thoughts straightened out there, Panda Fan. But anyway, so she goes to visit him at the Chateau, and he is like, who the hell are you? Like, how do you know me? Why? Like, how did you basically like who is this person? And she like starts going on about the attack at her apartment and like what she was able to do, and like that she's compelled to find him, that she feels safe with him.
Yeah, she knew she'd feel safe, and that's why she went there.
Right.
So he takes her in, orders a new beverage, tea Earl Grey decaf. Although that might be because it was at night. Could be because it was at night.
Could be because it was at night. But I think he did do a decaf in the morning before his interview, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of a.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he did one in the morning, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he does Earl Grey now.
Uncaffeinated Picard.
Uncaffeinated Picard. Maybe that's why he's not super intense anymore. He doesn't have his caffeinated Earl Grey. Anyway, so she visits him, and he basically takes her in, grabs a decaffeinated Earl Grey, and listens to her, I guess, story about her compulsion to find him, like some deep-seated thing inside of her knows like him on a personal level. And he's like, well, I've done a lot of talks and stuff. And she's like, no, man, like I just know you're the guy.
Well, and she says too, she says, do you know me? And he goes, no. And then she goes, but you're not sure. And I know that you're not sure, and that's weird.
Yeah, that's an awesome little thing that she says too, which is like, you just know right off a rip that this chick is not, she's not human, man. Like something about her's,
or at least a special human anyhow.
At least
but we're about to find out.
At least something special. But anyway, so she ends up staying the night at Chateau de Picard, and she has this necklace on that's got these 2 rings in it, and this necklace ends up having significance throughout the episode for reasons that we'll get into. Thank you, Tim, for the like on the stream, by the way, buddy. Appreciate that. For reasons that we'll get into, but he asks her about the necklace, and I think it's at that point that he does start to realize, like, maybe I do actually know who you are. Or I don't know you, but I'm not sure. So that sort of feeling where she's like
familiarity, but it's a really vague kind of like gut feeling rather than a recollection.
Right, which is cool because I think again that plays to like the core of who Jean-Luc's character is. Like he's got his morals and stuff like that, but I think a lot of his calls were kind of gut feelings. Through the Next Generation. I mean, he didn't go by the book all the time, you know, protocol and all that sort of stuff. I feel like he made a lot of
principle. It was principle that guided him more than anything.
Sure, the morals thing again. So somewhere in his gut, he just knows like those instincts, those Jean-Luc instincts, man. So she stays the night at Chateau de Picard, and you know, he has another one of these dream sequences where this time he throws open the windows to his chateau, and it's not okay. It's Data that's standing there, and he's painting a picture. And Picard approaches him, and you can clearly see that he's wearing the old Next Generation uniform.
Yes, these are Next Generation vintage uniforms with the colored body and the black on top.
Right, exactly. So the vintage, like, seasonal uniforms, and not the movie uniforms that we saw Data wearing in the first dream sequence, which, again, I think plays some sort of role here, or some visual...
Yeah, there's clearly a choice made. And I heard Patrick Stewart talking about this a long time ago in an interview when they were filming. And one of his stipulations in agreeing to do this was no uniforms. He wanted no uniforms. He didn't want to wear a uniform at all in this entire series.
That's interesting.
But he said he already went back on it, and he had just finished filming that dream sequence scene when he did this interview, because he said, I wore a uniform yesterday because looking at the script, it didn't make sense for me not to.
Gotcha.
Which makes me scratch my head, because he was not wearing a uniform in the first scene, and Data was, and that was a Nemesis era vintage uniform.
Right.
In this scene, they're both wearing uniforms, and they're both Next Generation vintage. So somebody made a clear choice there.
Right.
This isn't haphazard, so I'm sure we'll find out why as we get more into these dream sequences as the series continues.
I wonder if it's just, I mean, I would like to think that it's something complex and all this stuff, but maybe it's as simple as the Mars dream sequence was supposed to be post-Nemesis, so those were just the right uniforms. But then, to your point, why is Picard not wearing a uniform in that sequence?
Right.
But the second sequence, I think, is to show him, like, because after this dream sequence, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but yeah, I think it's to show him, like, this was 30 years ago, and this is when this painting was drawn by Data. And this is who this person is. So that, I mean, I think that makes sense to like further illustrate for us that this dream sequence for him is him maybe remembering a time further before this events of the Mars catastrophe or whatever it was. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it'll unfold into something bigger as the season goes on. But for right now, I think it's just I think it's just there to show
It's got to be
us.
big enough to convince Patrick Stewart to put the uniform on.
Sure. I mean, that's a very fair point, especially after he said he was going to wear no uniform. So, like I said, maybe it'll develop into something else. But for right now, for me, I take it as, you know, a good way to move us to the next portion of the episode, which is then he wakes up from this dream sequence at like his desk.
Oh, we've got to talk about the dream sequence though. We skipped over it.
Oh yeah, right. I'm sorry. He approaches Data, and Data's painting a picture, and this picture is like a half-completed picture of what appears to be some feminine figure, cloaked figure. Face is not distinguishable, and she's standing what appears to be, I think, on a cliff, like overlooking an ocean or something like that. And then Data reaches out to him and he says, "Would you like to finish?" And Picard says, "I don't think I know how." And Data goes, "No, you do." And
that's not true, sir.
That's not true, sir. And he goes to take the paintbrush, and boom, that's when he wakes up at his desk and immediately turns around and looks at the painting above his study, and it's the painting of. I think that painting is like the back picture, and then that's what prompts him, because he's like, okay, like this means something. Like Data painted this 30 years ago, like in his head, like, okay, now I need to go to the academy, and there's something there that I have that I need to go like uncover and then figure out like if this is really the connection that I'm thinking it is in my head. So you can see him making the connection.
Technically in the archives next to the category or the academy.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry, the archives. My apologies. So he ends up. He's like, I gotta go to the and Laris comes in and tells him that the girl's gone. She ended up peacing out. They couldn't find her. Disappeared. Don't know where she went to. And he's like, I gotta go to the archives. Please contact me immediately if she comes back. So they go to the archives. Or not they, he goes to the archives, sorry. And apparently he's got like this entire wing of archives like just for himself, which is really freaking cool, I might add. Like he goes in and he's like, oh yeah, in this section, and nobody else has access, and the program's like, yeah, nobody else has access but you. So
nobody's been there even to clean it. So let me stop you there for a minute.
Go ahead.
And talk about what happens when he walks into this archive room, because there's some really cool stuff in there.
Oh yes.
There's a Klingon bat'leth
on
the wall. There's a Klingon bat'leth on the wall, so you know why that's there. There's models of his old ship. There's Stargazer is in there.
Right.
And then a different ship, which might be the Verity. I wasn't quite sure. I didn't have time to identify it nor look it up. But my favorite thing is...
I know what you're gonna say.
Go ahead, say it.
The Picard Day poster.
Yeah, Captain Picard Day. So this was a prop from an episode that is very endearing, where the episode starts out with they're having Captain Picard Day.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's not liking it at all. He's like, why do we have to do this Captain Picard Day garbage? And they're like, oh,
right.
You know, you're a role model, the kids look up to you or whatever. And so the idea was all the kids on the ship created, you know, some sort of likeness of him.
Right.
And, you know, number one is messing with him. You know, he's got like a little doll. He's like, well, I think that was striking. So, and then a call comes in on subspace from one of the admirals, and so he takes it right there in the classroom, and he's talking to them, but over his shoulder the banner is visible that says Captain Picard Day. And so the admiral questions him, and then he gets real awkward about it. He's like, oh, I'm a role model. Like real awkward, like. And then the admiral's like, indeed you are, you know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but it cracks me up that he would have that. Now, Picard said that he did not want this series to be fan service. That was absolute fan service.
Oh, it was, for sure.
But listen, feed it to me. Feed it to me. I'm going to eat it right up because I love it.
I enjoy it. And I mean, they zoom right in on it, big old close-up on it, for sure, man. Like, the things in this archive are really, really cool for the eagle-eyed Star Trek fan. You know, like Grant said, the bat'leth, the Stargazer, and then the Picard Day poster, obviously all mementos from a time long past. This is meant to evoke those nostalgic emotions a little bit. And the one thing I want to stop and say about this particular episode that I noticed right off of the bat, this is not Your Father's The Next Generation. This is going to be something a little bit darker and a little bit grittier, and I think I like that a lot.
Yeah, The Next Generation was everything perfect as it should be.
Right.
You know, and like you deal with things in the best possible, most, I guess, principled way.
Sure.
And that was how everybody dealt with it. You know, if anybody made a bad decision, it was because they were corrupted by something.
Right.
Other than that, everybody was programmed to act good.
Right. I mean,
they were written to act good in the best possible way at all times.
It's even an interesting thing, and we can talk about this on another podcast or something someday. It's even an interesting thing to take a look at the Borg philosophies and look at that as like they only looked at it as improving themselves and everything else around them by assimilating everything into their collective being. So like even the Borg didn't necessarily do things out of evil. They did it out of like what I would assume is like logistical step 1, step 2, step 3, like this is the best thing for our civilization or like our collective hive mind or whatever it is. So you know, getting back to Picard or whatever, I like that. I like the idea that he's disillusioned with Starfleet, that Starfleet isn't this, yeah, he's got a clean beard, doesn't he, Jeff? He's got a mighty clean beard. Ginge, by the way, thank you for the like on the stream, dude. Appreciate that.
Appreciate the compliments on the beard.
Yeah, he's
the longest I've had it in a few years.
He's got a glorious...
You know who else can grow an epic beard?
Who?
It's my pal, the panda here.
I need some time, but yeah, I can.
Oh yeah, so you can hold your own.
Hold my own in the beard growing realm. But anyway, we digress. It's Jeff, thank you for the like on the stream, by the way, buddy. So he's in this archive, and anyway, my point about it is this is a newer Star Trek. It seems a little darker and a little grittier. He's disillusioned with Starfleet. Starfleet's not this entity that makes all these correct decisions all the time, which is really cool. Like he even accuses them of slithering away from, like, slinking away from their duties and stuff. Like I just don't hear like Jean-Luc talk like this unless like something has really like disillusioned him. So but anyway, back to the archive scene. He's looking for this very specific thing in the archive, and that thing is a painting that Data painted for him some 30 odd years ago titled Daughter, and it is a basically perfect it's basically a perfect like painting replication or likeness of this girl that he's run into, Daj. And basically this is affirming what he thinks he already knows, and that this is essentially Data's daughter, which we basically, if you're good, you know, if you have been putting the pieces together through the episode at this point, you should be able to connect the fact that this is definitely this is Data's daughter. Now what you don't know is, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but so he takes, you know, the painting, and he ends up leaving the archives, and boom, guess who's there?
Before this happens, though,
Daj is there. The reason she's there is before this happens, she running around on, the streets of Boston or whatever after she escapes from Picard's...
No, she's still in Paris.
Oh, she's still in Paris. That's right. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about when she first escapes the apartment. Anyway, she's running around, and she pulls up this communicator, and she calls her mom, I guess, and she tells her what happens. But she doesn't mention Picard ever in her telling. Like, she never says anything about Picard. And this lady, her mom, says, you need to go find Picard. You need to go find him. And she's like, why never mention Picard? Why are you telling me to go find him? She's like, doesn't matter. Just go find him. He'll protect you. Like, focus and go. And like, she closes her eyes and like basically does some Data shit and like pulls something up and like basically like hacks his security and tracks Picard. And that's how she finds him at the Archive Center, which is in San Francisco, I think.
Yes, it is in San Francisco. It's literally right next door to Starfleet Academy. But there's a couple of weird things that happened in that phone call. You mentioned one of them already. One of them is that the mom knows that she was with Picard.
Right.
The second thing is that the mom, if you watch, kind of glitches in the phone call. It's almost like I was chopping earlier.
Oh, I didn't notice that through my couple of watch throughs. I'll have to go back and watch with closer eyes. It's funny you say that because just a quick mention of the first scene with Data and his tell. Like, I noticed after I watched the first time that pupil dilation that he mentioned. Like, you can see it get bigger when he's going to bluff him or whatever. It's just really cool, going back and watching on second and third watch throughs. So I'll have to take a look at that. But that's interesting that you mentioned that. That it glitches out a little bit. Interesting. Mm-hmm. So anyway, they
don't have to deal with shitty Courtyard Marriott Wi-Fi connections. And
yeah, no. So there should be
2384 or whatever the hell this is.
Unless something is purposefully tampering with that, there should really be no problem. So I see your point there that it's a little odd and strange. And then again, like you said, the whole mention of Picard without Dodge actually saying anything about him is odd.
And with her being an android, she doesn't really have a mom, so who is this lady?
Right. That's exactly what I was thinking too. She calls this lady, I'm like, okay, who are her mother and father, and what do they know, and what are we gonna find out about them? I'm very curious. Brother Panda says she finds him by doing the beep boops. JB wants to talk about beards after Jeffrey said you had a clean beard. He has beards on the brain, I can't think. No, we're good. We got the beards off the brain, so we're good with that. So anyway, Picard leaves the archives and he runs smack dab into Dodge because she tracks him, and she basically is like, I found you. I can hear people a block away. I think I have schizophrenia. I'm hallucinating. And he's like, no. You are something far more special than that. You are not schizophrenic. You're not having hallucinations. You could possibly be something very, very unique and special. So they go and sit down and start talking about he I think he asked her about her father, where she comes from and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And she talks about his father being a xenobiologist and discovering a new plant and naming it after her and all this other stuff. And then Picard starts talking about Lieutenant Data and him sacrificing himself, and then completely goes off. Lieutenant Commander Data, sorry. And completely goes off on this complete tangent about how he was a painter and an artist and stuff. And she's like, well, why the hell are you telling me all this? And he's like, well, because 30 years ago, he painted a picture that looks just like you and titled it Daughter and gave it to me. And she's like, what? This is just poppycock. This is just poppycock. She literally looks at him. She's like, so some random guy you knew gave you a picture of some chick, and she happens to look like me.
Well, and even more, she bristles a whole lot at the supposition that she's an android because androids have gotten such a negative connotation since that Mars attack.
Right. They're actually very deliberate in pointing that out, too, to be fair. They're like, well, she's like, well, I'm a murderous android. And he's like, no, you need to, take all these predispositions about androids that you think you know and throw them all out the window. Because they're not true. Your Data was one of them, and he sacrificed his life for me. Also, he very well could be your father, so there's that. So they're talking about all this stuff, and she mentions that she just gets into the Daystrom Institute?
Mm-hmm. Daystrom, yep.
Daystrom, sorry, I keep forgetting. The Daystrom Institute, and he's like, well, that's great. We need to go there, and we need to figure out what or who you are, basically.
Yeah. Daystrom Institute, as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, is where all of these androids were created. It's the #1 android research facility in the universe.
Right.
And so now she's all disillusioned too. She's like, well, Jesus, did they know this? Like, did I get in there because, that's what she was celebrating at the very beginning of the episode. Like, did I get in there just because they know what I am?
Right.
Like now even that's not even like a real thing to celebrate anymore. She's like real kind of like dejected about it.
Brother Panda says they sit down and talk about how special she is. Basically, that's what they do. They sit down and talk about how special she is. So they go to the Daystrom Institute. Well, they're going to go to the Daystrom Institute, but before they can leave, they found us. She basically says that somebody has found them and they need to go. So 90 million year old frickin' Patrick Stewart busts on his running loafers and gets going, boy. And he there's an actual scene like where he's running up the stairs and he actually stops and like starts panting, and it's like, oh my god, Jean-Luc, no, you've gotten old, man. You've gotten old.
You gotta think Patrick Stewart's in his 80s. The character would also be in his 80s. I know. I mean, it's just,
I know. It was again one of those.
It's good that they showed that though.
Right,
he's been a so it's not like he's been hitting the weight room real hard or spending some time on the treadmill or elliptical.
Yoked Jean-Luc Picard. Could you just see him like Mr. Universe posing with like his buff ass naked body, like with his ball?
Oh wait, hold on. A couple of things. If you look at the old comics, he was enormous. Him and Riker were like, Mr. Universe, exactly like you said.
Oh,
which reminds me of this meme that I saw. It's one of the frames from the old comic, and I'm sure you've seen this meme format before. But it's him and Riker is saying, "Captain Picard, we dummy thick," and then.
I think I have seen this.
It says, "Indeed, number one," and the clap of our ass cheeks are alerting all the Romulans.
That's funny because that would play into this particular episode. So
yeah, it's pretty great. I'll find it and put it up on the Panda fan page.
It was the clap of his ass cheeks that alerted the Romulans. That's why they captured him in the comics. Oh my goodness. Anyway. Sorry, we digress, guys. We're trying to have we try and have fun with this sort of stuff. Anyway, so they are running from something after they get out of the archives. Dodge says that someone clap of his flap. What does that say? Clap of his
flab cheek.
Oh man. Oh my goodness.
It's like hangy ass.
Oh, savage, bro. Savage. Brother Panda coming in with the savagery. So they're running away from these guys that look like the same type of attackers that attacked Dodge in her apartment. And then all badassery breaks loose. Like, they run up these stairs, like, to this, like, roof area or something. And, she starts whooping some ass. Like, these three guys, like, come after her. Like, 3 or 4 guys come after her, and she just takes them all out. She tells Picard to like run, and he goes and runs, and like some of these guys like zip in behind Picard, like teleport in. So she like starts running up like to like go and help him or attack these guys, and these guys are shooting at her, and then boom, man, she like jumps like 50 feet in the air, like up the stairs, lands on this dude, like wrecks his day, like wrecks the rest of these guys. And then last dude that she tries to wreck ends up like knocking him over, and I don't know if it's like his actual blood or like something.
No. I did a little research on this. He had some sort of capsule.
I was gonna say I went back and watched it again because I remember you and I talking about this, because I've read reviews about this episode too, and people have mentioned how like I guess Romulans bleed poison blood like the aliens from the Alien movies now, and I was like, didn't look like it was like his blood splatter that came out of him and hit her or anything like that, you know? So I think it was a capsule.
It's here that you get confirmation that the Romulans, by the way. The last guy, she rips off his helmet as he's falling. You see the pointy ears, and you see that the blood is green. So now you've got 100% confirmation that these are Romulans that are after, and not just people that stole disruptors.
Correct, yes. So I do think that there might be something else in play here, though, because remember the first scene, and this kind of stuck out to me in the apartment scene, where they start talking in the alien language, and dude is like speaking English, and then they start talking in English. So I'm wondering if it's not just the Romulans that are behind this.
Could very well be. I don't know.
And I'm wondering who else it would be if it's not them who could be helping. Anyway.
Well, there's several possibilities.
Yeah, there's a couple. One I'll actually touch on as we continue through the review here when we get to the Daystrom Institute. I keep saying Daystrom. It's Daystrom, isn't it?
Daystrom.
Thank you. The Daystrom Institute. I'll get that right, I promise. So she beats this last guy up, and he has some capsule in his mouth and like spits the shit all over. It's like acid. It starts burning her up and overloading the gun that she's using. And the gun essentially blows up in her face and kills her. And blasts Picard back, like knocks his ass out. And I think he has another dream sequence, if I'm not mistaken, or he just wakes up.
I think he just wakes up. I don't think there's any more dream here.
I don't think there is either, no. But anyway, yeah, he wakes up.
At Chateau Picard.
At Chateau Picard. Somehow he goes from... I'm sure they just teleported him back to Chateau Picard.
Yeah, they transported him. Yeah, that's how you get around, baby.
Teleportation, man. So he gets back to Chateau Picard, and Laris wakes him up, or he wakes up, and it's at this point, like, you start to get the sense, like, because he starts talking about, Tyshawn, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for the like on the stream. Like, he's feeling regret because he felt that Daj should have gotten better from him. He felt like he should have protected her. There's a moment after after she finds him at the archives, she finds him there, that he mentions to her, like, he's like, I'm deeply connected to you at this, like, knowing who you are, like, I'm connected to you deeper, like, I have a deep connection.
Yeah, you're more special to me than you could possibly fathom.
Yeah, I'm never gonna leave you. My sole mission is now to protect you, basically, is what he says.
3 minutes later.
Yeah, 3 minutes later. Sorry about that. Anyway, but like, he
my 80-year-old flabby ass cheeks cannot do so much damage anymore.
Yeah,
we're no longer dummy thick.
Exactly, we're no longer dummy thick. We can't be doing no protecting. Anyway, but he wakes up back at Chateau Picard after the attack, and it's at this point you kind of get that, like, the verve and vigor from Jean-Luc that we all know and love, and the desire for discovery, and the desire to boldly go where nobody's gone before. He's gonna try now and figure out what the hell happened to her. So his goal now is to go to the Daystrom Institute, because he's gonna go find out who she was, what happened to her, where she came from, and like try and figure this whole thing out. So he goes to the Daystrom Institute, and meets up with, I don't remember the character's name, but I know the actress's name is Alison Pill, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And she's doe-eyed for Captain Picard. Oh my god, it's such an honor, how can I help you? And he's very, like, right to the point. He's like, I need you to tell me how to make, like, a flesh and blood synthetic. And she, like, laughs at him.
Yeah, well, her character is fantastic.
Yeah.
Very quick-witted, really fun to talk to. Very, she's like, well, that's the short answer. It's like, okay, well, what's the long answer? She's like, well, it's still going to wind up being no at the end, that we can't make this thing that you're talking about.
Right.
And so they eventually get around to talking about it and hypothetical it out. And then once they get there, she's like, see, there's that no that I told you was coming.
Yeah, there's that no that we were coming around to that I promised you, or whatever she says. But yeah.
It's great. Hilarious character.
And I feel like if this is going to be, like, if she's going to be that kind of comic relief or whatever, or that witty relief character, like, this actress does a very good job in those roles in particular. So I think it was well cast, this particular actress for this particular role. So they go to the Institute to talk about this theory and about how this particular person who this doctor claims can't exist does exist, and had tea with Picard the other night or whatever. And he shows her the necklace that Daj has, and it's at this point that you start to find out And you can make Trek fans who, I think it's like in season 2 or something, if I read correctly.
But it is one of the best episodes in the whole series.
Where they dissect data and everything, and they're Dr.
It's
Maddox.
called Measure of a Man. Yeah, Dr. Maddox. So Dr. Maddox comes on board the Enterprise, and he wants to create a bunch of datas, but in order to do that, he basically needs to take data apart and kill him, and take his positronic brain apart, learn how it works.
Right.
And so he thinks that because that serve the greater good, that he should be allowed to do that. And Picard argues that no, Data is a sentient being. This is not something that is allowed. You couldn't do this to just anybody. And so that's why, it's a really great moral episode. There's kind of like a trial aspect to it, and in the end, Picard of course wins out because Data exists for the next several seasons and movies.
Right.
So,
of course. But it's an interesting thing to think about that this planet, what's it called? Utopia Planitia, that's what it's called. Sorry, that it was these synthetics that went rogue and rose up and destroyed the planet's defenses. And this guy Maddox, who this doctor character mentions at the Daystrom Institute, like he went like he disappeared after the attack.
Yeah, went off the grid. And it's so, and they also explain at this point too, because they walk into the labs and there's no one in there. It's a literal and figurative ghost town.
Correct.
And they say that once that happened and they banned all synths, that they can only work in hypotheticals. They lost a lot of their funding. They lost a lot of their staff.
Right.
Because there's no real reason for them to exist anymore.
Right. The synths themselves came from that particular lab too. They make
from
mention
that
of
lab,
it.
yeah, at the Daystrom Institute, and for whatever reason attacked Utopia Planitia and foiled the Romulan evacuation attempt.
Correct. So they talk about that, and Picard mentions how like they start getting into theory and all this stuff about how this doctor wanted to essentially take like a positronic neuron, essentially one positronic neuron from Data, and essentially create a whole sentient being from that positronic neuron. And that's what the whole, like what do they call it, fractal cloning or something like that, or
sounds right. But there's an important thing with the necklace, and you just showed it.
Oh, the twins thing. Like it's a symbol of like splitting cells, obviously, and there's a lot of images for that in the show. There's also, I don't know if you noticed this, dude, or not, but I did in the intro sequence, because I took a class back in college. This is a tangent, but it's not, because it's relevant to this, where we studied James Bond and all of the movie intros to James.
I remember that class.
To James Bond. Well, not just movie intros, but we studied the books and the movies respectively, and a lot of emphasis was put on how the movie intros convey a lot of plot that's going to happen in the actual movie itself. And I think that applies to this particular introduction for Picard. If you pay real close attention, there's like hexagonal shaped, like two of them in the opening sequence that break apart from each other, and then they go on to create what appears to be a sentient android being, and that then breaks off, and like the Mars thing happens, and that forms Picard, and then Picard goes, and then it goes further into the opening sequence. Watch it again.
I'll check it out.
I think that has a part to play, the actual opening sequence, and the fact that these fractal cloning, the important thing about the necklace here too is that there's 2 rings on the necklace, which means, and I think this is what Grant was wanting me to get to here, they're cloned in pairs, which means there's not only a Daj, but there's a twin for Daj.
A Daj 2.
A Daj 2. What am I doing right now? I'm doing my Star Trek Picard review. Adrian, thanks for the like on the stream, by the way, buddy. Appreciate that. This is my Thursday night review series that I'm starting off with Picard. Salah, welcome to the Panda fam. So I'm starting my Picard review series with my best friend Grant here, who's a who's a whiz with Star Trek, very knowledgeable. He and I are we've both been very excited about this show. This is just one of many shows that I eventually want to review and cover. He may not always be my guest on all of these podcasts for these different shows, but at least
I'll be your guest on all the podcasts. Oh, the different shows you mean?
The different shows. I'm not talking about just Picard specifically.
Gotcha.
You're definitely going to
be here.
You'll be here for Picard, but Adrian says, hey, he can see the chats too. He's got the stream pulled up on his phone and everything. So we're just bantering back and forth about the first episode of Picard, which debuted today at 2 o'clock in the morning this morning. Yesterday, I guess now.
I actually heard they dropped it an hour early.
Did they really? Well, that doesn't surprise me. A lot of people were hyped for this particular series. So, anyway, back to my point that I was making about the fractal cloning and how Daj has a clone, Daj 2, I guess we'll call her at this point, which is very, very interesting indeed, because obviously Daj was killed off right away in this episode. Now, if you didn't know that this second person was out there, you would have, like, the whole Daj thing would have been such a weird plot.
Yeah, super anticlimactic.
Would have been such a weird plot device to use in the first episode of a season where she seemingly is the main character.
Yeah, they've such a big deal promotional materials too, so it was just very surprising, right? Because like you meet her and then you don't assume that her or a version of her is going to be like a MacGuffin, and that's what you end up with.
That's exactly what you end up with, which is, it's a cool way to push the plot forward for sure, where there's a second one and it was kind of always there. It's not even really it's not even really such a MacGuffin in that, like, she was attacked and got the better of, and Picard wants to know more. So I think the necklace itself is the MacGuffin here, not her death in particular, maybe.
No. This find her. MacGuffin is something that you got to go find.
Oh, gotcha.
That's the plot device. Yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, as far as the what were we talking about, the archive scene and then the Daystrom. So he finds out that there's a second one roaming around out there somewhere, and you guys are starting a show, or podcast every Thursday night for right now, because that's when Star Trek airs, but I'll bob and weave as I need to with whatever shows I do. Exactly, like my buddy up there. So it's just a very chill, relaxed kind of review series that we're going to do. It's a podcast kind of format. It'll be a little bit better because he's in Portland right now and I'm in Chicago in the Midwest. So he's on kind of shitty hotel connection. So it's a little choppy from time to time. Video quality may not be the best. He'll be here with me for a good majority of these reviews. So it'll be better quality as we move forward here. But anyway, I digress again. So after we find out that there's a second one, we get all of a sudden, like, we get a zoom in of that necklace, and then it transitions to some like double nebula looking thing, which honestly very well could have been the inspiration for the necklace. That work could have been done out there, or whoever created these two could have seen it and used it as inspiration. I don't know. It's just ironic that they use the fractal necklace and then segue it into like a double fractal looking nebula. Anyway, so you see this warship. I'm assuming, and maybe we can theorize here a little bit about this, but it looks like a Romulan warbird, like a newer version.
Yeah. It's an updated Romulan warbird or some sort of Romulan ship.
Well, and I guess you don't really need to theorize, because it says that they're at a Romulan reclamation facility when, you read the subtitles and everything. But it's this warbird, and it's going into this ship. And they do a very brilliant job here, cinematography-wise, in my opinion, of not showing you the whole picture until the very end of the actual episode, which is awesome. I had my.
Which they ruined it with the previews. I wish they hadn't done that because I would have been a lot more like, whoa. But whatever.
I agree, but still, like the cinematography was really cool behind it because you know that they're out there, you know that they're at this reclamation facility. You don't know what this reclamation facility is. Suffice to say that there's a bunch of Romulan warbirds going in and out of it. There's this guy that all of a sudden makes his appearance at the end of the episode, and his name is Narek, not Narek. It's Narek, I think is how his name's spelled. I can't remember how it's pronounced, but he's clearly
probably Narek.
Narek.
Fox dad is Sarek, and that's the same spelling but with an S.
Yeah, so Narek is
That's what we'll go with for now anyway, until we get corrected.
He gets I'm guessing this is going to be an antagonist in this show. I mean, he's a Romulan. He gets your traditional
nefarious, yeah.
He gets your traditional walk through smoke in a dark room entrance, with the ominous music in the background. So you know that this guy's up to no good. What that no good is, we don't know yet. You just kind of get a You just get a feeling though.
Baby, you're no good.
You get a feeling from this guy that he's just he's slithery, man. He's got that slithery feel to him. So he enters this reclamation facility and approaches this scientist or doctor looking person, and she turns around and lo and behold, it's Daj 2. Her name is Soji. So we've got Daj and we've got Soji. And they proceed to have a little bit of small talk about twins and about how he had a brother who he lost, which interesting that they include that particular portion of the story. I'm wondering if that isn't a motivator for him and whatever it is he's doing in this series.
Yeah, great point.
Possibly. They just put a lot of emphasis.
Not a twin, but close.
Not a twin, but close. So maybe there's a sense of jealousy here, or maybe his twin was like sick or something, and if he had this technology, like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that could be motivator there. Could have been killed on Utopia
Planitia. Could have been killed in the. My guess is killed in the Romulan supernova.
Here's the thing,
though. He wasn't evacuated because of the attack on Utopia Planitia by the synthetics. Who knows?
Here's the thing, though, about that. He very clearly states that it was like last year that he lost his brother. And the Utopia Planitia stuff was 20 years ago.
15, 20 years ago. Yeah.
Now, Picard did make mention earlier in the episode about the fallout of the supernova exploding, which may very well be Patrick needs that money, says Miley. Yes, he does. Patrick Stewart needs that money big time. You've got to go take care, Adrian.
He's got plenty of money.
He does. I mean, he does. But he's a beast, man. He's a beast. But anyway.
Smokes his Dozier and pets his pit bull and has his much younger wife to enjoy. And
Yep. He's just living the dream, man, for sure.
Got it all. He can pick and choose what he wants to do.
We're talking about this Narek guy who maybe his brother suffered some of the fallout of whatever happened from the supernova, and he blames Picard for that, or he blames the synths, and I don't know. This is all theory because it was a very brief interaction between him and Soji, but just the amplified music, the very dread sounding music that was kind of pumped up during that portion of the story. Morning, my guy. Who's this? He nearly has beard game like me. No, his beard game's on point.
Second beard mention.
It is, man. That's my man Bull from Bull 1060. He's from New Zealand, so he is literally tuning in.
Kiwi.
Yeah, he's tuning in. It's like 16 hours ahead there, so it's like 6 o'clock in the evening for him, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
My goodness.
Thanks for the like on the stream, by the way, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. We're doing a little Picard review series. We watched the first episode. We're at the very end of the episode, so spoilers abound. But anyway, so they have this very quick dialogue.
No, it's only about a month and a half old, so.
What's that?
I said the beard is new. It's only about a month and a half old.
Did I say your beard was new?
No, I'm saying it's new.
Oh shit. Well, all right then. I didn't even realize 6 a.m. in the morning. You're at work. Rock and roll, man. Thanks for tuning in. While you're at work, there it's 6 in the morning. Crazy. Anyway, so
Back to Narek.
Narek and Soji have this conversation, and very brief conversation, but you learn that he lost his brother. You learn that she has a sister. She's got the same necklace on. She knows it was given to both of them by her father. So she knows that she has a sister. I'm not really sure if Daj knew that she had a sister out there. I don't think she did.
If she did, she kept it from Picard, but it would be weird for them to be twins and one to know and the other not to.
It would be very odd. But from everything that she was saying and doing, like, I don't know. I
can't remember if she mentions a sister when she's at Picard's house or not.
I don't think she does. I'd have to maybe go back and watch that scene specifically, but
it would be a real weird decision in writing to not. I feel
like they didn't, though. Like, that's the thing, and I feel like that's very odd. But I also feel like that means that maybe one of them was kept in the dark, and maybe one of them wasn't kept in the dark about who. I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. All we know right now.
And rewatch.
All we know right now is there's a Romulan named Narek, and he's talking to the twin of Daj named Soji, and they start talking about twins, and that's basically how the episode ends, with them talking about this. And then there's a beautiful pan out sequence of a bunch of these Romulan warbirds like exiting this reclamation area, and then the big pan out, and then you finally see what it is that they're reclamation-ing on. They're reclaiming parts from a Borg cube, essentially, and that's your big end of the episode reveal. So now the questions become: what is Soji doing on a Borg ship? There
is a clue in the conversation about that question.
What is there? We'll talk about that in a second. Why is there a Borg ship just chilling and having Romulans like reclaiming it for technology? What happened to the Borg specifically, like, since their days from first contact and all this other thing? Like, the Borg just don't go away, from my understanding. Like, they just don't go away. So what do they do? Like, what is there a Borg? Why is there a Borg cube there? And what is going on with the Borg in this particular series? Because as many of you may know, Jerry Ryan is reprising her role as 7 of 9. And we're getting reprisal of the character Hugh from the series as well, too. So I'll let you go ahead.
And this all ties into the point that I'm going to make.
I'll let you go ahead with that. Yes, go ahead. Uh-oh, you're frozen.
Oh, no.
Hold on. All right, go ahead.
We're good?
I think you're good, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, one of the conversation points between Narek and Soji is that he mentions what you do here is fix people. Why is there a doctor necessary at a Borg reclamation site? That's kind of a weird thing, especially a full-time one where all she does is fix people. So that makes me think that maybe there is something going on there with maybe people. So the connection with the two actors that you mentioned, Jerry Ryan and the fellow who plays Hugh the Borg, whose name is escaping me right now, is that they are former Borg, and the clips that we've seen of Hugh is that he's been deborgified. A lot of his, attachments have been removed, and he's looking quite a bit more human in the way that Jerry Ryan was in the, after her introduction in Voyager.
Sure.
So, is she at reclamation area deborgifying Borg?
Possibly.
That's my theory.
Possibly. That's a good. I think that's a good theory to stand
Fixing
by.
People,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, and yeah, the fact that she's on a Borg ship. I mean, what else? Now, here's the thing that I want to know, and I really hope that they touch on at some point in this season if the Borg are going to be as heavily involved as I think they're going to be, or at least some variation of the Borg, whether they're deborgified or whatever. Will the Jean-Luc Locutus thing play any
Locutus.
kind of Locutus, play any kind of role. Will his knowledge of the Borg play into anything in this season, do you think?
I almost guarantee it.
I would hope it does. I would be
one of the best plot points in Next Generation. It would be silly to overlook.
Agree.
With such heavy Borg involvement. It always got mentioned every time the Borg came up. I mean, even all the way into First Contact, you see Picard freak out for one of the only times ever when he gets upset when they want to kind of like talk to the Borg, and he gets upset and smashes all the models of the ships with the phaser rifle.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
he's like, no,
that's one of the few times.
No! Yeah, I remember that.
He's still very emotional about that and dealing with them.
Yeah, for sure. They wrecked him pretty hard, man. Millie, thank you for the like on the stream. Bull says the beard is in infancy. It needs mature and it needs nurture and love, and it will grow big and strong. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, Miley or Millie. It's probably nice Millie. To finally see production value in Star Trek. So sick of every episode Doctor centric. I understand what you're saying. The production quality in this episode was particularly good, especially the new scene, the new Boston looking scene, the opening scene, especially with all the like crazy outer space nebula and all this crazy, and especially the Enterprise. You know, the way that they moved into to 10 forward or whatever was a beautiful scene. And I agree, the production value is very good in this first episode for sure. The plot, like my gravy, thickens. Imminent threat, possible flashbacks of Borg survivors that will share knowledge of another fleet and stronghold. Bull 1060 says, very good theory. Okay, go ahead.
There's in Voyager you find out, and I guess they mention it in Next Gen too. So when they send Hugh back to the Borg, it like destroys the Borg because he's got a sense of individuality, but it turns out that that's just a wing of the Borg. It's not all of them. And there's different, so like in Voyager you get a really good view of them because they're Delta Quadrant creatures, but they've got these spheres which are massive and then the cubes which are smaller, and they move around using these like transwarp conduits, and there's different branches of them and all kinds of things like that. So it's possible that, you know, the Borg themselves are still doing just fine in the Delta Quadrant, but you know, there are certain branches of them that have kind of got stranded in the Alpha Quadrant and, you know, no longer able to access the transwarp conduits that they need to get home, and those are the ones who are, you know, kind of struggling, or, you know, there's that cube there that, you know, seem to be captured and being dismantled by the Romulans and things like that.
Sure.
One more thing, we forgot to mention this when they were at the Daystrom Institute, when they opened the drawer.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, one of the things, and it was just one of the details, but they pop open a drawer, and in there is what looks like Data's body, and Picard mentions that it's B4.
Thank you.
He knew that it was B4, and so he said, the lady explains that his positronic, it's a Data prototype, basically, and that the positronic matrix is nowhere near as complex as Data was, and it was basically a piece of shit.
Basically, Data tried to upload himself into B4, and it blew B4 up, or like overloaded him because
he wasn't able to handle it. You know, whatever he uploaded wasn't good. So
the other thing I'd really like them to try and resolve in this series overall is why nobody has been able to reproduce that technology for like 30 years now.
Well, I mean, they mention it. I mean, there's a couple of. It looks. I mean, they were close in the Daystrom Institute, and then all of their creations turned on them.
Sure.
And so and then they tabled it, so they stopped. And on top of that, I mean, even going all the way back to season 2 of Next Gen, they had people trying.
Right. I mean, that's a fair point.
It's something that they've been after, but, you know, Noonien Soong was a genius and really did something that was kind of beyond his time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what we have to assume about the guy that created Data. What was his? Do you remember what his name was?
Noonien Soong.
Soong, that's it, Soong. And yeah, you got lore, and then you've got Data and stuff and all that from the Next Generation. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think we just have to at this point we have to kind of assume or accept the fact that this guy was like leagues ahead of his time, and as far as like positronic mapping or like sentient AI and all that sort of stuff. So it's crazy. Bull says poor Picard, he was changed for life after the Borg, so then coming back would suck for him. Yeah, it would kind of suck for him, man. That was and like Millie says, most action in Next Generation. I would agree, that Borg episode where they like, it was some of the most action in that entire show. Those 2 episodes for sure. Brother Panda says hardware wasn't up to snuff, mate. Chipset was old as fuck. Probably had like no RAM. Reminds me too much of Wayland Industries synths from Aliens. That's a good point that you bring up, Bull. Very similar synths or whatever. Maybe Data was Windows 7 and isn't supported anymore.
Yeah, well, and that whole synth attack on Mars is very reminiscent of Battlestar Galactica with the Cylons.
Sure.
And their attack on, the worlds. So
I mean, I know that's a big question mark now for this series. I mean, maybe not one that's brought up explicitly, but like, why did he mentions it in the interview earlier in the episode. He's like, we still don't know why they did what they did. So like, why did they do what they do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is a huge, major thing that I think we're going to come to find out. So, of course, we talked about Starfleet pulling the plug on the synth program and no longer allowing them anywhere inside the Federation. But what we don't know is why basically Skynet became self-aware and attacked Mars.
Right,
Is this some
exactly.
sort of like Tal Shiar plot? Did they hijack them for some reason? Was it, were they compelled to? I'm going to go out and say that I do not believe that the synths just kind of acted on their own and decided to go randomly attack Utopia Planitia and destroy the rescue fleet.
What if, now here's a weird theory to posit. What if the girl herself was the reason why these synths did what they did 20 some odd years ago, and that's why she has the memories that she has? Both of them.
You're talking about Daj and Soji?
And Soji, yes. Maybe something happened to them and they were smuggled out of wherever they were or whatever, and given different memories so that they didn't they don't remember that they were actually the ones that caused this bullshit. You know what I mean? I don't want to spoil the first episode too much, so I'm gonna head off, guys. Have an awesome day, Panda, and nice to meet you. You beautiful bearded man, says Bull 1060. Thanks so much for the support on the stream, buddy. This is our first go at this whole podcast thing, so I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves tonight. It's a little bit of a late one with him on the West Coast and me Central Time. Like I said, things will be a little more consistent here in the episodes coming up.
Oh yeah, so it'll put it at 4 in the morning for the poor guy.
What's that? Oh yeah.
I said if we do it right, yeah.
If we do it earlier, it'll be like 4 in the morning for him. So yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much like the entirety of the first episode after it cuts out to, that last wide shot of the cube. That's pretty much where we get the end credits, and we get this season on Picard. Now there are some interesting clips in the season coming up, specifically the character who he comes to meet and recruit, who I guess she took a dive with him when he made his stance against Starfleet. I don't remember what her name is in the comics.
Oh, it's his first officer.
Right.
Blonde, curly-haired lady.
Yes,
yeah, I can't.
yes.
I'm also blanking on the character's name, but she's very familiar with him in the comics. She calls him JL.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
So he's got like a really good relationship with her. They're very tight.
For sure.
But we don't know what the hell happened because we have not seen that third comic.
Yes, and I'm hoping we see that third comic sometime soon.
Also, the fate of characters we don't know. So we obviously know what happened to Data because he got blowed up at the end of Nemesis.
Geordi.
We don't know what happened to Geordi. We know he was in charge of Utopia Planitia when the attack happened.
Correct.
So it's quite possible he got aced when that happened. We see Troy and Riker in the
season upcoming.
In the preview, so we know that they're around. We have not seen Worf.
No, we have not, actually. It's a good point.
But we have seen the Batleth on the wall there. So
sure.
I don't know what that's all about. Let's see, who are we missing here?
Crusher and
Oh, Wesley's like off traveling with the Traveler. Oh yeah, Beverly.
Beverly,
We haven't
I'm
seen
Beverly.
hide nor hair of her. We have no idea where she's at.
Yeah,
So, but obviously she has to pop up because her complex, long relationship with Picard that spans to like well before Next Generation,
sure.
and then I believe in Nemesis they finally hook up. But
all the Picard Crusher shippers out there, I think they finally hook up.
yeah, I mean it's weird because he was best friends with her husband and loved her even then, and then got the guy killed.
Basically,
and
the reason he died.
Just kind of not good timing on any of that, and poor form. But there was always the second episode, the Naked Now, when he comes up and she's like unzipping, and he's like, no.
Yeah, that's.
And then he gives like the little wave that people gif the hell out of, which I love.
Oh, so good. Smiley says space sex. Yes. Oh, the best sex. No gravity. No, zero gravity sex. Ooh, Crusher and Picard. Getting after it on the Enterprise. Or not the Enterprise, but whatever the new ship is. Which is cool. Like, we see some shots of him and his new crew and whatever this new ragtag group is that's going on this mission. And I really like this whole space adventure. Like, this is a definite departure from the Star Trek, the Next Generation of yesteryear, and
yeah, you notice he's not sitting in the captain's chair on that thing. There's another, young dashing fellow.
Yeah, no,
he's probably a cowboy, and they're gonna butt heads, I'm sure. And
I'm sure he's very Han Solo-ish, and they'll
that's exactly what's gonna happen.
They'll do what they do, and it was very cool to see.
Bucket of bolts? Hey man, should make the Kessel run in 13 parsecs.
Yeah, exactly. It was nice to see him with the engage and all that stuff in the previews. Good to see Troy and Riker and some of the older OGs of the Next Generation making an appearance in the preview. So
yeah, but I also like that they're including people from other series like 7 of 9, and we may see people from Deep Space Nine or Voyager Vintage.
Sure.
In there because they're all around.
Sure, absolutely. We need a Mal from Firefly.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's essentially Han Solo.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, that's that's essentially the first episode there, guys. If anybody has any questions they want to know or ask, or anything you guys want to comment in the chat, before we end this off here and head on out for the evening, we're open to chats. If you guys want to ask us anything about Star Trek, I'm going to defer to my man up here in the top right corner, because he is the man with all the knowledge. Top right corner up there. So if you guys have any questions, we'll open it up for the next 5 minutes. 5 minutes or so. We've been going for a couple hours, and I enjoyed this first podcast.
I pointed the wrong way. You're over here. Dang, blast it.
And you're I gotta do this. You're up there. Yeah, you're up there. There you go. It's weird because it's all spatial and all that crap backwards. And hey,
looking good down there.
Oh, you're looking good up there. Hey. Anyway, so what product does Grant use in his beard? All right, what product do you use in your beard, buddy?
Oh, this is actually an excellent question. So, there is so I've been to St. Augustine, Florida recently. And there is a small, out-of-the-way shop that makes manly things. So the guy makes knives and axes, and he home makes his own beard balm. And so it's this little tiny shop. I'm gonna go grab it real quick because I've got it over here, and I want to give this guy a shout out because it's a really great product. Hang on.
All right, for sure, man. Do you think you'd have watched so much Next Gen if it wasn't aired before The Simpsons? For me personally, I. Probably not. I don't know. Great seeing you guys on. Love the conversation. Hey, what's up, J-Lo? Holy shit, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, J-Lo. So here it is.
Yeah, go ahead and shout out your balm there. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's called O&A. The guy makes it himself, from scratch. He puts his own essential oils in there. It's all natural stuff. It's good stuff. The flavor I got, here, I'll hold it up there so you guys can smell it, is called Turkish.
That smells beautiful. I can smell it from here.
I like old school, kind of like old world scents. So it's coffee and cardamom and sandalwood. It's supposed to be reminiscent of the Middle East. But yeah, this guy in St. Augustine, Florida, if you go off of the main drag there, I think it's called St. George Street. It's kind of tucked back. You got to take like this little alleyway back there, and he's got like a little kind of like shed hut type of deal.
Millie asks, do you think you'd have watched so much Next Gen if it wasn't aired before The Simpsons?
Well, I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons when I was a kid, so
there you go.
It goes on at 6 o'clock every night on UPN. WPWR.
I wouldn't have watched any Star Trek if it wasn't for him. So I mean, if I remember correct, man, like, didn't you have like all the seasons on VHS, and that's like
not all of them. I had a few episodes here and there. A couple of like the really good ones. I actually my neighbor who I talked about earlier in the podcast gave them to me as like birthday gifts and things like that. But what he did was he would tape them all on the television.
Okay.
And then he would pop the tabs off of the tape so you couldn't re-record over them.
For you kids out there, that's VHS, just so you know.
He ordered every one of them in a nice like box or whatever. So as he got the new ones, he gave me his old recorded tapes off of the television.
That's crazy.
So I've got a bunch of those.
All right, for sure.
They're still in my parents' basement.
Yeah, I would say Simpsons, no Simpsons. That doesn't matter what would have been on or around. I never watched Star Trek when it aired. I only watched it after he got me into it and after there were 7 seasons available. So I was able to go through the entirety when it came out on Netflix, and that's kind of how I know Star Trek. And then I went to all the movies and stuff when they came out, with him on typically when they debuted. So, so yeah, that's the Star Trek history there, guys. Any other?
I'm seeing this now. O and A stands for Oak and AIDS. ADZE.
Oak and AIDS?
Handmade in St. Augustine. Oak and AIDS. ADZE.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So it's made with jojoba oil, organic coconut oil, organic beeswax, almond oil, and essential oils, and that's all that's in there.
Nice. Yeah. Sounds very good for
Makes me smell like a Turk.
Awesome. It sounds like it's good for your beard, too, so that's good. Omar, thanks for the like on the stream, by the way, buddy. I appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, this, if nobody has any other questions, we're almost at the 2-hour mark, so
oh my goodness, really?
Yeah, man, time flies when you're having fun talking about Star Trek and shit, dude. So it's good stuff. We'll be next week, we'll be on earlier. I'll just have to get with my boy Grant here and see when he can go live with me. Probably in the evening when he can get over here and all that good stuff, so we can do this from one camera and have some good audio and video for you, crisp and clear and all that sort of stuff. Jeremy, thank you for the like on the stream. Millie says, thanks, guys. No problem, Millie. If it helped put you to sleep, that's good. Fine, that works for us then. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and we're just going to go and end the stream off. But I want to say thanks to everybody for coming on out. We appreciate having you guys here and listening to us jabber on about Star Trek, specifically Picard, and nerd out a little bit with you guys. Like I said, this is the very first episode in this review series, and this is the very first show that I'm doing. And this man is my very first guest. This is Grant. I refer to him as Champion. He is the Star Trek master, the lore master, the knowledge
gamer tag is Champish One.
The knowledge holder in regards to Star Trek. So
I started to talk about how we got that nickname and call each other that. It's actually video game related.
Oh yeah, if you want to talk about that before we head off, sure.
Yeah. We'll talk about it. So it comes from Diablo 2 actually. So when you get in the 4th act and you go and talk to Tyrael at the Pandemonium Fortress.
This is accurate. Hail to you, champion.
So we just started calling each other champion, and that's how we greeted each other. And
yeah, we always used to. Back in the Diablo 2 days, man. So we're really dating ourselves. But anyway, VHS should have really dated us in the first place. So anyway, Panda Fam, we're gonna go ahead and head out. I want to say thanks again to my man Grant Sabo up there in the corner. There he is.
Thank you for having me, buddy. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you for tuning in from Portland or joining in from Portland, and thank you all Panda fam for. Yeah, my age is showing for sure. Our age is showing, but hey, whatever, man. You got to embrace it. So, anyway, we'll be back again next Thursday with episode.
We wear it good.
We wear it as well as we can, man. We'll be back next Thursday with the second episode of Picard. Stay classy, Panda fam. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow with probably some more DBZ Kakarot. I've got Anno in the morning with my buddy Bloody, so that'll be yeah, dude. Have you seen me playing that game lately? Have you seen it?
Of course I've seen you playing the game.
Oh, I just finished it. I beat Boo today. I finished the Boo saga.
Yeah, it was the Boo saga. I saw you were beating up a pink
goo ball.
Blob of goo.
Yeah, so Boo time. So completionist stuff now in the game. I'm going to do Anno 1800 tomorrow. And then, as you guys know, supporter games on Saturday on PS4 and PC. Final Fantasy on Sunday with Ladies Night Sunday night.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, it's exciting. So thank you guys so very much for coming in. We'll be back at you, me and my boy Grant, here next Thursday for the second episode. Remember, that will be for supporters only. So the premiere and the finale will be for everybody. Episodes 2 through 9 will be exclusively for supporters. Got to feed the supporters a little bit of content now. We got to give you guys something. So thank you all for tuning on in. It's your boy Tamarine Panda with my buddy Grant Sabo, telling you to have a good night. Peace out, pandas.
Take care, everyone.